Ultimately, the Audit Committee's job is to help Council hold city management to account. Audit committees do this by receiving reports from auditors, working to understand the information that's included in those reports, and ensuring follow-up action is taken by management to implement the auditor's recommendations. In this section, we'll explore how that tends to look. If your council does not have an audit committee, then council as a whole can follow this process to review any audits it receives from auditors. As we noted in Module 2, there are 4 different types of audits. The audit committee process we are about to cover applies mainly to performance, compliance, and internal audit reports. For financial statement audit reports, there are different factors to consider. The process begins when the audit committee receives a report from an auditor. At this point, committee members can begin reading the report on their own. Before any meetings with the auditor or city managers occur, the committee can request an action plan from management. The more detail included in the action plan, the easier it will be for the committee to hold managers accountable. A detailed action plan will include clear commitments on 2 things: actions that will be taken by managers based on the auditor's recommendations, and deadlines for when those actions will be completed. The audit committee may hold a meeting with the auditor to be briefed on the report. This is an opportunity for members of the committee to do 2 things. First, to ask clarifying questions to better understand the information presented in the report, and second, to request additional information from the auditor. Some audit standards require this meeting to be held in private. In other cases, these meetings can happen in public, and legislation or bylaws may require it. Then, a public meeting is held with the city managers responsible for implementing the recommendations of the audit. For example, if the report is on public transit, the meeting will include those responsible for managing the transit system. Sometimes more than one department or organization will be responsible for implementing the recommendations. It's important to identify and include all relevant departments in this meeting. Public meetings with city management give the committee the opportunity to ask managers questions about the findings in the auditor's report, and more importantly, to ask management about the actions they will take to address the audit recommendations. Following the meeting, the committee may also present its own report to council. As a subcommittee of City Council, the Audit Committee has a responsibility to report to council on its work. The committee's report to council can summarize what was found in the audit, recommendations from the audit, and management's response. This report may also contain the committee's own recommendations that go beyond those found in the auditor's report. By putting all of this in the report, not only is council informed about the committee's work, it also provides further incentive for management to ensure they are delivering on their action plan, since their commitments are now on the public record. The final stage of the audit committee process is follow-up. Unlike the other stages of the process, which happen at specific moments in time, follow-up often happens over a period of time. Effective audit committees continue monitoring issues raised in audits until they are satisfied that change has occurred and will last. In municipalities where there is an Auditor General, the Auditor General will also conduct periodic follow-up on outstanding audit recommendations. The follow-up process begins when the committee requests an action plan from management. This sends the signal that managers will have to do more to satisfy the audit committee than survive one potentially uncomfortable public meeting. With an action plan in hand, the committee can then request status updates according to the timeline committed to by management in that plan. In an ideal situation, management will implement its recommendations according to this timeline. If this is the case, written status updates are usually all that is required. In situations where management is not able to implement recommendations according to the timeline in the action plan, the committee may choose to hold a follow-up meeting with management to have them explain the delays. Some committees also hold regular meetings where the explicit purpose is to review all outstanding recommendations from all of the audits they've reviewed. The auditor will help in this process by keeping track of their outstanding recommendations and providing that information to the committee. The more frequent these meetings, the less likely it will be that the committee loses sight of important follow-up actions expected from management. This is especially true for recommendations that take more time to implement. Ultimately, without regular follow-up, there is no accountability.